I want to talk about. I want to kind of define some language here, um, because I feel like I feel like people don't read dictionaries. It. I think if you're expecting people to read dictionaries, don't. It's just well, I can't say don't, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't expect that because it's pure chance, and so you have to like. There's no inherent advantage on success rates there. You just kind of have to find a person who likes data like that. Um, so I want to define some language in a different format that is hopefully more interesting. Um, what does it really mean to be aware of something, right? Because obviously it's possible for folks to uh, claim awareness of something and not have it. Um, so how do you know when you actually are aware of something? The thing is, you know that things are true when universal application is available. What do I mean by that? Basically, okay, I'll give a few examples. I'll start with one that is in my realm. What the fuck? What's going on? Can I not line this up? What's the deal? Oh, shit. So, I'm not a chemist, uh, but the foundations of chemistry are very interesting to me. Let's talk about hydrogen. Let's talk about hydrogen. Hydrogen, the first element, one proton, one electron. We know a lot of things about hydrogen, and we know a lot of things about oh my goodness, we know a lot of things about a lot of elements, but uh, the thing about chemistry that's cool, and well, science in general really, is that I don't know if I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna have to move this whole thing so I can see. Yep. What was that? Okay. So, in science, it's very important that our experiments are repeatable. Why is that? Because a repeatable experiment, when it is repeated the first time, will foundationally be in different conditions than when it happened the first time. And if it's true, if it's real, and I think that you should link those two words in your brain, true and real. Hold Hold on, I'm focused on this because this has really been like plaguing me lately. This is a little bit frustrating. If it's real, it's always real. It's universal.
Do I need to? Oh, 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 oh. I see the problem.
Wait, is this another one? Oh my god. Okay, I can fix this whole thing. Excellent. Alright, what's up, buddy? So, if it's real, it's universal. That means no matter where you are in the universe, the same thing will happen. The same, like from the top to the bottom. And so, understanding that, we know, okay, this information is true about this thing, because no matter who does it, no matter how they do it, no matter where they are, no matter when they are, this information is true. For example, hydrogen has one proton. And you might be asking, if you're if you naturally interpret things from the deep level first, you might be asking, well, we're talking about awareness and truth here. First of all, what does that have to do with awareness? Second of all, why, what is hydrogen? How do you, okay, so hydrogen has one proton, but what makes helium not hydrogen? Right? Sure, it's different, but at the end of the day, it's a proton. It's now just two protons. Right? So why do we call one thing and the other thing the other thing? That would be a really good question. My answer to that would be, for practical understanding, it's good to have names for things. Because what is hydrogen really? When you have one proton, there is a set of potential reactions or a set of potential ways that one proton can exist and interact with the world. And it does and doesn't have overlaps, right? So maybe a group of two protons can also do some things that a group of one protons can do. But like on a practical level, we'll say. Because, whether or not that's true depends on the scale you're looking at. So what I mean by that is, you can get from one element or molecule to another in multiple ways. And those multiple ways may or may not involve multiple different element combinations. But you're right. I got to bring it back to awareness. Given that the nature of this is annoying. It's just hard to I'm trying to line up this nut. I guess I don't. It's like a screw, but for an Allen wrench. Whatever you call that. But I feel like we should just call it an Allen screw. Personally, it's literally a screw. It's just built for an Allen wrench instead of a screwdriver. I'm just saying. I don't know who. I'm just saying. I understand we can rename things. It's important for things to have names. I just talked about that, but we can rename things. It's important. It's important. So awareness. Here, I'm gonna just put this down for a little bit and focus on talking. Awareness, consciousness, knowing. How do you know you're aware? How do you know that you are aware of something? How do you know that you know something? Well, I just described how we know things are true, right? Which is that they're universal. Okay? So you can use that as a verification tool. So the question is, basically, when you look at something, when you look at information, and you want to say, is this real? Is this true? You're asking, is this thing universal? Or is it interpreted? Or is it both? It could be both. It could be an interpretation of a universal thing. So there could be a universal principle at play, but it's going through an interpretation. I would say this is probably the most common thing. So, if you want to know, do I really know something? How do I know that I know something? What does it mean to know something? You're asking, is this information universal about your awareness, your state of knowing? So, what do I mean by that? It's a little wispy. What do I mean by that? Like condense it down, make it solid for me. I got you, right? When I say that I know something, I'll just start with an example. Okay. When I say that I know something, it means I am claiming that I am aware of the universal aspect of whatever information. So, okay. So if I say I know that this is gray, if I say I don't know that this is gray, I'm saying I'm aware that universally you can recognize this as gray. No matter what conditions you are in, you can recognize this as gray. And now, if you like, you might not be saying or thinking or asking, well, I mean, different things have different eyes, right? What if something can't see gray? Or fuck it, we'll say blue instead, because I feel like gray is actually kind of a hard color to not be able to see unless you're blind for real. But there are also things that are blind. So how do they know it's gray? Right? What's the deal? Because it kind of sounds like you can't say that you know that this is gray because, well, it's not. Isn't it not universal? Well, let's talk about it. What's my time? It's fine. Let's talk about it. Gray is a color. Color is an interpretation of light frequency. So, when I say this is gray, I'm saying it is within the range of light frequencies and intensities and other light characteristics. I'm saying this frequency is within the range that humans recognize as gray. Now, obviously, that's kind of a lot to. No, I'm not trying to say all that, right? And so, that concept of universal awareness, which we gave it a name, and this is what I was getting at earlier, why names are important. This concept of universal awareness, we gave it a name, and I also just gave it another name. We gave it the name knowing, and I also just gave it the name universal awareness. Okay, so maybe someone is asking, we're talking about awareness, but like awareness is kind of linked with perception, right? Like you can only be like, can you be aware of things that you are incapable of perceiving? See, now that's a little bit of a tough one. I can't lie. That's a little bit of a tough one. But it is important to explore perception. And what we understand about that. So I think that the idea of perception is not necessarily or like I think that people are operating with the same definitions of perception. So I don't think I have to define it here, and I don't feel like pulling a definition for the word perception out from the cloud right now. I'm not trying to condense that, right? But I do want to talk about the interpretation, right? So I was just talking about universal awareness, knowing things, right? So how do you know that you are perceiving something, right? I just had a really interesting side idea uh, about the sound that I'm always hearing. And um, they're called gamma ray bursts. Um, they're light rays coming from space that hit the atmosphere and like dissipate, and they're coming in like all the time. Um, I was thinking about those as it relates to being able to perceive things and awareness, and that question that I asked earlier. Um, so basically, it's like if you're perceiving something, let's just start with an example. I need to just like always like I need to not always, but I need to be ready to start with examples when I'm trying to talk about big stuff like this. Um, so, example. Uh, Fuck it, I'll just use this as the example. Hearing something, right? I'm hearing myself speak right now. I'm hearing myself. I'm hearing my voice, the vibrations in my body. I'm just gonna in my body. I'm hearing them pass through my body, in particular my bones, pass through my hearing center. I'm hearing that. I'm hearing my voice come out of my mouth and bounce off the walls, or I guess as one thing, I'm hearing my voice come out of my mouth and spread through the air. That's one thing. And then I'm also hearing, and it hits my ears, goes through my hearing centers, and then I'm also hearing it come out of my mouth and then bounce off the wall and come back to my ears. That's also one thing. So I'm hearing my voice like 3 times right now. Right? How do I know that I'm hearing that? I know how sound works. I know that sound is a universal concept. The transfer of momentum as it pertains to vibration. That's what sound is. And when you think about that, sound is also kind of a lot of things. It's also heat, pressure waves. Yeah. So, I mean, light frequency, like color is sound in a way. Light frequencies, it's just the transfer of it's just vibrations and the transfer of momentum when they interact. Same as what you're hearing. It's the same thing. So I know that like that's universal, and I can trace it as I just did through universal things that I know are real. And as a result of that, I know that the fact that I'm hearing myself, or I know that the information of Tao is hearing themselves is true because I can trace it through other things that are known to be universal. And now the question of can you be aware of something that you can't perceive? My instinct says no. My instinct says you cannot be aware of something if you cannot perceive it. But then my mind says, well, that would mean that any claims of spiritual awareness would have to be perceived first. And how are we doing that? That's very interesting to me. I don't know a whole lot about that, but I do know that folks in China have been talking for a very, very, very long time. And by very long, I mean, I don't know, probably like hundreds of years, maybe longer. I don't know. Long ass time. Okay. About the spirituality of different organs. So that's something that I have to, that's something that I want to look into. That is something that I will look into. That is something that is being looked into, has been looked into, and I can see my future self grateful to my current self for this moment. I can see my future self being grateful to my current self for this moment. And I can tap into that gratitude and feel it in this moment. If you want, the term that I've heard used for this is quantum shifting, I think. So you can look into that. But I would suggest to think about it first before you go research about it, because I think that it's really best not to overcomplicate it. Quantum shifting is just being able to recognize your future self, being able to look in your mind into the future, see the future self that is grateful to you for what you are doing right now. Feel that gratitude, appreciate it, and then return it. You can be grateful to your future self for sending that gratitude back in time to you. Oh man, hold up. This kind of became something very interesting and very powerful. Did not plan for that. Very interesting. Uh, but yeah, so anything spiritual has to be perceived, and we may be like, okay, just because we don't know that we can perceive spiritual things doesn't mean that we actually can't perceive spiritual things. Very interesting. This also makes me think about when black holes expire, they send out gravitational waves, and sometimes those gravitational waves pass over us, but they're like like super low frequency. In the cosmic music, this is the fucking crazy sub bass. Okay? Honestly, yo, don't steal my idea. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna use that for a song someday. I can see my future self that's grateful for me for what I'm doing right now, for speaking this into existence, for documenting this idea, for documenting the reception of this idea. I can see it. Nice. It's crazy to feel gratitude. It's crazy to feel gratitude from yourself. I'm used to like giving gratitude to myself. I'm not that used to feeling it from myself. Very interesting. I'm gonna have to see about gratitude from my past self. Oh yeah, but like people talk about the feeling. People talk about feeling gratitude from their past self all the time, though. It's like the feeling of like my inner child is proud of me. You know, cool, 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 cool. Okay, so okay. As my last notes on perception here, and then I'll call it. As my last notes on perception here, we act a lot of times we act like things that don't have brains as developed as us lack feelings that we have. And I think that's wrong to think. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only transformed. So they have those feelings that just looks different. Right? Like think about magnetism, right? Is that not the purest form of like desire? You know what I mean? If you've ever seen huge magnets, yo, check this out. Yo, if you've listened to me for this long, you deserve a reward. You've been a good boy, you've been a good girl. You deserve a reward. uh, look up slow mo guys magnets, or yeah, or magnet crash slow mo. Magnetic things can desire each other so much that they literally smash together, destroy themselves, and become one. Okay? And like, if that is not to be loved, is to be changed, I mean, come on. It's right there. You know what I'm saying? And we use human language and feelings language to talk about scientific things all the time, to talk about other animals all the time, to talk about foundational, like particles, foundational particles all the time. And then we always want to, like, well, in the places where I get science from, they always want to like qualify, like, okay, well, it doesn't actually want this thing. Oh, well, it doesn't actually feel this thing. Like, but we don't know that. We don't know that it doesn't. We don't know that magnets don't desire each other. We don't know that atoms aren't aware of themselves. We don't know that matter in and of itself doesn't communicate. What we do know is that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only transformed. Momentum is always conserved. Same thing. Momentum can't be created nor destroyed, only transformed. That's why potential energy exists. If you ever like, I feel like that's something that we kind of don't talk about, potential energy and the kind of philosophical or spiritual implications of that. If you ever heard of, like, or if you've ever encountered people talking about the void, the power of the void, the power of nothing, space between, like, they're talking about the power of potential energy. They are talking about the spirit of potential energy. For example, if you have a ball that is really fucking heavy on a really big ledge, but the ledge is stable enough to hold the ball, and it's not a problem, it has a lot of potential energy up there. And that potential energy will be transformed into kinetic energy by gravity. Kind of. Because gravity is also the reason that the potential energy is there in the first place. So when the ball rolls off the ledge, the gravity, the matter of the ledge is no longer communicating with the matter of the ball. It's gone. Now it's the air beneath the ball that is communicating with the ball. And it doesn't have the energy to support that. Therefore, the gravity takes a different form and becomes kinetic energy as opposed to potential energy. And the ball falls. Potential energy is in everything, just like kinetic energy. Like it's just energy. It's everywhere. It's everything. And everything is communicating using different language, different expressions of the same energy, different languages with the same letters. Yeah, I think I just kind of found. Yeah. I think I kind of just found the European colonization of spirituality. I think I just kind of naturally found that just now. Well, kind of a sour end to the class, I guess, to the lecture, to the discussion, to the talk, to the hangout, to the whatever. I don't know. Let me know in the comments how you feel watching something like this? What does it feel like? What kind of exchange does it feel like? Because, like, genuinely, and this is kind of like, I don't know if I'll ever get, big on YouTube, or just like big online in general, or just big, I guess, in general, in terms of, public consciousness. Um, I mean, I guess kind of I already am big in a way. Like I think I'm big in impact, maybe not that big in spread. That sounds about right. Um, but the downside to being big in your like spread through public consciousness is that it's hard to like foundationally the percentage of people you can interact with directly goes down the bigger you get, no matter what. Which sucks because like that's kind of the whole point for me. But it's not here yet, so get in the comments. Let me know how you feel watching something like this. Let me know like what kind of like what kind of bits do you think would make this more interesting? But it's gotta be. I won't tell you what it's gotta be. All right. Right. Maybe I'll make another one of these once the fungus hits.